Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
Greetings, and thank you for joining me, Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen on air or online at any of your favorite podcast venues, such as iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn app, smart speakers, nccradio.org, or our own WHPC app. Download it today, and you can listen to all the WHPC shows. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. And today, our guest is T. Forton-Barnes, and Therese T. is a Detox Your Home guru and health coach at the Green Living Gurus. She grew up in a very healthy home in the 60s and 70s and went to college to open a health food store and has been helping people for over 40 years, keeping toxicants out of their home. T is an entrepreneur, activist, and herself is a podcast host and educator, and she spreads awareness of chemicals in the everyday products that could cause many autoimmune diseases as well as cancer and other health issues. And certainly we hear about that in the news all the time. She guides women and others in creating a less toxic home and lifestyle to ultimately increase the odds of a long, healthy, vital life and a safe environment. And the very good place to find her is at thegreenlivinggurus.com. So thank you so much for joining us today, T.
You're welcome, Ellen. I'm glad to be here.
So when you're saying you grew up in a healthy home and you were motivated to actually go into the business of owning a health food store.
Yes. So I had 3 older sisters and a younger brother, and my mother was way ahead of her time in the 60s when we were growing up, that she kept us from fast foods, from pizza, from Burger King, from McDonald's, from anything like that. And we came home to hummus and grape leaves and fruit.
So I just want to interrupt you there for 1 minute, because that's how my children were raised, who are in their 50s now. And
I love it.
My son, but they rebelled a lot. My son and his friend, they were in kindergarten, and he had, hummus and rice cakes and all that packed for his lunch. And they would terrorize other kids and make them trade their Twinkies for the rice cakes. So it's really funny.
That's so funny. Yeah. We just grew up that way. We were that's how we knew to eat. And everything was fresh. Everything was organic. My mother worked in the local little co-op that we still shop in to this day. And until we started getting a little bit older and people started calling us granola heads, it was interesting, but it never really bothered me. We lived in the city, so I had a lot of friends that came over to our house, and our house was always filled with all these kids. And
what city is that from? When you say
Buffalo, New York.
Okay, because when you say the city, our radio station is in Garden City, New York. So when you're saying the city, we mean New York.
Yeah.
However, we are now, of course, international. We have thousands of listeners everywhere. So the city might mean different things. So Buffalo is a substantial city, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it was interesting because she taught, and all my friends to this day always say, I learned about hummus from your mother. She would make it by scratch. And I went away to college and I started thinking about all the things she taught us. So when I went to college, I wanted people to understand and to realize how great this food was, that I wanted to open up this big health food store that as Whole Foods. And that was my business plan, actually, Whole Foods, exactly what they do now. But I came out of Ithaca College as a party planner, and I've been planning parties for close to 40 years in primarily the Buffalo area. And that's what I've been doing. But when 2020 hit, I decided I really wanted to continue what I ventured out for. And that was really helping people detox their homes, which I have been doing for all of those years on the side, very minor, not getting paid for it, just helping people realize where all these chemicals are potentially coming from that could be causing cancer. So then cancer patients would call me, and all my friends, I mean, I've gone through their homes many times, getting rid of things. So I just decided the rest of my life, I wanted to dedicate to helping people see where all these toxicants are coming from that are getting worse and worse through the years.
So
that
much
are causing
worse.
cancer.
I
Yeah,
know.
so
And
much
then
worse.
things that you were talking about decades ago do finally sort of squirm into the public eye and the news. I mean, right now they're talking about aspartame on my website at naturalnurse.com. If you look up an article on artificial sweeteners, I was talking about aspartame when it came out in the 80s, how toxic it was. And at the exact same time, they were banning books about natural sweeteners. You know, it's like political as well as a health issue.
Majorly political, definitely. A lot of money behind all these chemicals, and they are out there lobbying against all of us that are trying to help people become healthy. And it's been an uphill battle, as you well know. But there's a lot of traction right now because there's a lot out there, and thankfully social media has helped get our stories out there about all these issues.
Well, I want to give you one heads up. On the news this morning, maybe you didn't hear it yet, but you will, in terms of repressing speech, all the social media big ones are going to take off anything that says anything about cancer that might be related to a natural therapy.
So I heard rumors of that. I did not see the news today because in my practice, I try not to ever say the word cancer.
Good idea. I'm just saying, we could fight that concept, or we could just know about it and protect ourselves.
Yeah,
because otherwise all your content will be blocked.
Yep, exactly. So you got to be so careful, which is horrible. But there's so much out there, and a lot of people using it to their advantage, trying to sell things. So I don't know the whole big picture. I just knew that I needed to kind of back away from.
So let's even in our show today, we don't have to talk about that particular illness or challenge.
We don't.
I mean, how about just having a stuffy nose? You know, it's just what all these toxic chemicals are not good for anyone. That's for sure. And the science supports the fact that they're not good for anyone. And the more that they release into the environment, the more they combine with each other and create chemicals that we don't even know about. And when they test any individual, any of us, even those of us who have been conscious since birth, like myself, more than 7 decades, we still will find those chemicals because they're just epidemic in the environment.
Yeah, we can't avoid them. But what we can do, we can try to prevent them as best possible.
Absolutely.
And that is key. And that is what I try to get across to people, that you can do a lot to prevent these chemicals from coming into your house, into your body. You can't prevent it once you walk out the door, but the amount that you can do on your own is what people need to understand. And our bodies, of course, you know that our bodies are made to fend off pollutants and fend off all of these and process them through, but they're not made to process hundreds and thousands of chemicals that we don't even know how they're mixing in our bodies every day. So
that's why you talk about, as part of your work in the world, detox your home.
Yes. Detox your home is so important. Our homes are somewhere between 2 and 100 times more polluted than the outdoor air. And that is actually on the CDC's website. And that's been reported. And the air in our home is potentially that toxic if you're not paying attention to what you are bringing in and how you are ventilating it too. So people think older homes might have more toxins. It's really the newer homes that are being built airtight, and you need air in your home. You want that air flowing. People think, don't open up the windows, but yes, open up your windows. You need that oxygen flowing in your house to get the toxicants that are in your house also out of the house. But there's so many more things you can do to improve your indoor air quality, and that's just one of them. So the other ones would be to take off your shoes when you come in your door always, because the amount of pesticides and chemicals that you could be tracking into your house that potentially are going into your body and getting on your floor. And if you have children and fingers are touching them. So that's one thing. Fans are wonderful. Definitely making sure that your fans are also clean all the time, dusting those fans, the ceiling fans, air conditioners, making sure your filters are always cleaned and working properly. And then purifying your indoor air. We have such wonderful options right now for indoor air purifying.
Okay, well,
systems.
let's talk about some of those. You're right that there's so many options. I mean, how is someone to decide if they do start to take this seriously and go, you know what, maybe an air filter would be a good idea for me. And then you go on whatever, Amazon or the store. How would you decide what would be useful?
So there's many out there, and you have to be very careful with it because there's many that are being made overseas with a lot of plastic parts. And what's in them, we're not 100% sure. What's in the filters, we're not 100% sure. So I highly suggest finding ones that are made in the United States. All the parts are made here. I personally have 3 Austin air purifiers, and coincidentally enough, they are actually made in Buffalo, New York. So, which is crazy, but I've done my research on air purifiers, and Austin Air is, in my opinion, the best ones out there that have the HEPA filter, and also all parts are made in the United States in Buffalo. So they are one of the top ones out there. You'll see if you look at reviews, people talk about them all the time. So
how would someone use an air filter, and why? Like, do they just plug it in?
Yep. Yeah, I have one in the bedroom, one in the kitchen, one in my office, and they run constantly. That's how they work best. Take up as the power is very minimal what they use, and I'll tell you, when we first got our air purifier in our bedroom, my husband used to be a terrible snorer. I mean, I had to kick him, and ever since we are sleeping.
Wait a minute. Are you sure you want to share that information? He may listen to this.
What's that?
Your husband may listen to this podcast.
That's okay. He knows it. But he'll say, no, you snore too.
Okay.
But we barely snore anymore. And because the air is so clean, there's no dust. I mean, yes, there's dust, but you feel like you're sleeping in a room of just pure air as opposed to any pollutants. And that was the biggest change we found when we got the air purifier. And it's changed our lives, actually. But besides that, it takes out VOCs that could be floating around your house. It will remove the pollutants that these fires are causing us all to have on the Northeast.
Oh, are you guys having that here on Long Island?
Oh, horrible.
Yeah.
So we haven't had it. The wind flow went a little bit different in the past few weeks, but yeah, it was horrible. I mean, we wouldn't go outside. We stayed inside with our air purifiers and knew that it was
better inside.
We're just terrible. Oh yeah, terrible.
So let me
definitely.
remind our listeners that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen live online at nccradio.org, iHeartRadio, or any podcast venue of your choice. And for more information about today's guest, we will also have a live link on our archive. And our guest today is Theresa, but she calls herself T, Green Living Guru. What a great name. And T's Organics. What do you mean by T's Organics?
So when I was younger, once again, going back to my mother, we had to clean every Saturday in order to get our allowance. And she had us only cleaning with baking soda, vinegar, and water. And throughout the years, I have made my own all-purpose cleaner. I wasn't selling it, but I couldn't keep up with the amount of people that wanted me to make it for them, family and friends primarily. And then somebody said to me one day, you need to bottle that. You need to sell it. People need to buy this. This is the most amazing all-purpose cleaner I've ever used. It's the only thing I use at in my home. And so
let's talk about regular
organics.
Let's talk about commercial, like just everyday kinds of cleansers. What's wrong with them?
So many of them that are common on the shelves of our supermarkets are loaded with chemicals. And they are not only loaded with chemicals, but they are also potentially have the word fragrance on them too, which, by the way, anything you buy, whether it's cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, shampoo, you should always avoid the word fragrance.
Yeah, I always do. If I'm buying anything like that, I only get the one that's fragrance free. But tell us specifically why. Why would you also have a wonderful ebook called Top Toxins to Avoid? And is that something people can download for free on your website? Or is it a little fee?
I believe that one's like $4.95 on the website.
Okay. So we don't talk about prices in this show.
Sorry.
That's okay. But anyway, it is available, and it's something called Top Toxins to Avoid. So what are some of those top toxins that you talk about in your book?
So formaldehyde is in some of the cleaning chemicals. Dioxin is some of them. Phosphates, ammonium sulfate. As I said, synthetic fragrances are some of the top ingredients that are culprits that are in some of our cleaning products. And really, people need to look at that label. And if you look at the label and you're cleaning with these products or you're using them in your laundry detergent, they are in your home. They are getting into your home. They are getting potentially into your body. And many of them could be creating headaches, throat irritation. I've seen people with waking up with a sore throat, maybe nausea, other respiratory and they're neurotoxins, many of them. So they're just not good to have in your home that you are trying to live in. So, and then throw in the fragrance ingredients, which basically fragrance is they can put the name fragrance on anything, and they do not have to disclose those ingredients. It goes back to when Chanel No. 5 was trying to trademark their product back in the 40s, and they said, we don't want to disclose our ingredients.
Oh, that's amazing. I did not know that. Fact. I always learn more. I know that when you can say fragrance, which is this broad term, you can put all kinds of super toxic chemicals. Another one is natural flavors.
Oh, that's the word in food, just like fragrances in products. And we call fragrance the other F word. Natural flavors is horrific. You want to stay away from that if it's in any products that you're eating, because they do not have to disclose what's in there either.
So that's so interesting. But I never heard the thing about the connection where Chanel got that language where you could say fragrance so that they did not have to disclose their patented formula for their scent.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I
that
never
long
heard that.
Ago.
That's amazing.
And people don't understand that they're soaking their clothes in chemicals by using some of, if it's in your laundry detergent, you are soaking your sheets, towels, everything, and you're sleeping in these chemicals, and they don't have to disclose all that information. And I've helped so many people that were addicted because you associate that smell from growing up maybe, and like, oh my God, I can't get rid of the dryer sheets. But once I get you off of those dryer sheets, or off of that fragrance, people all of a sudden start to realize they're feeling a lot better. They didn't know they weren't feeling bad until they start to feel better and waking up without a sore throat and realizing that this is causing issues in their health. So those are the biggest switches that I would make. And that's the first thing I do when I go through someone's home is laundry detergent, because you're in your clothes all day, sleeping in them. The toxic chemicals could be coming into your house.
I absolutely agree. And, I took my clothes to a laundromat to get washed, and I told them, just use no detergent at all. None. Just the water's fine. Right. And they didn't like that, but okay.
No, they don't like that. I know.
And then I still got unfortunately, interacted with, because then the plastic bag that they use was a scented plastic bag that they put my laundry in.
That's horrible.
And it still was that I had to go home and hang everything out on the clothesline because I could not stand that scent.
Horrible. And they do that in garbage bags now, too.
Right.
I mean, the fragrance industry, again, very political. They are very powerful. They are out there lobbying all the time. And now airports are even blowing it through their ventilation system because they want people to associate a certain airport with a certain smell, and it's going to make them happy. And it's very sad to me because there's so many people that have multi-chemical sensitivity. It's called MCS all over the country that barely can go to places because of all these chemicals. And my health is good, so I can handle them. But I'll tell you, when I go in somewhere and I have that scent, I can get a headache immediately. So I can only imagine, what it's doing to people, young children, mothers,
right. So
pregnant mothers.
All these spray fresheners. That you put in. What I use for something like that are just open bowls of baking soda. Like if I want to, keep a room not having some kind
or essential oils and a diffuser.
Well, essential oils are stronger. They actually have their
you
own
have to be
scent.
Careful.
But to just make it sort of no scent, I really find that just baking soda is.
Oh yeah, just like the old days. Put it in your refrigerator too. It sucks up the smells, right?
That happens to be and I'm sure, I wonder, I haven't seen your formula for your cleaning products, which people can see at thegreenlivinggurus.com. The Green Living Gurus really does have 2 G's in it. Is that right?
GURUS.
Right.
Yes.
But the living ends in a G.
Yes.
And then there's another
living.
G.
Yes.
So if somebody looks at that,
you're right.
Is that funny? No, that's how it is. It's thelivinggurus.com.
Thegreenlivinggurus.com. Yes.
And also the word green. And by the way, on our shows, if people are listening to this and would like to find out more, we will have these live links right there for them to visit. So,
great,
this is very inexpensive, very simple things, and it's amazing how much better. And just to remind people, and I'm sure you're hearing it on the news, they finally do talk about these things. Like a lot of the chemicals you're discussing are what they're calling those forever chemicals, which they're trying to outlaw.
Yeah, the PFAS chemicals, PFAS and PFOS, which is it's coming out in the news. I've known about it for years. It's in our water. Unfortunately, everybody has it in their body pretty much because of the amount of these chemicals that we've been exposed to. But the worst place that I think that it is right now is in our water supply. And so that's the second thing I tell people. Absolutely do not drink tap water. I don't care where you live, unless you're in a city that has reverse osmosis, and there are a few in the country that do that. And it's very expensive for cities to put that on their systems. But there's even pitchers that you can get. I gave my niece for her high school graduation a pitcher that gets out PFAS so she can put it in her room at college. So, but reverse osmosis is definitely the most effective at getting out PFAS and also all these other chemicals that are in our waterways.
It is, but it has downsides too, because you have to use a lot of water to get a certain amount to drink. So, there's all kinds of challenges with getting clean water.
It is. It's sad that that's what it is, but you don't want to be drinking chemicals.
Right. So some of the things that you're recommending is clean up your air, clean up your water, and clean up your scents. Like, don't use them. Don't use any of those scented sprays, scented laundry detergents, and then there's another big one, which is called triclosan. It's always on the label, and that's in anything that states that it's antibacterial.
Right.
So it has been so overused since the pandemic because people were spraying it all over everything constantly all day long.
Yes, I know. The hand sanitizers, when I see people rubbing it on them every day, all day, wherever they were, I'm like, oh my God, the chemicals that are going into their body. But I know. And COVID, that was probably one of the biggest problems with COVID. We all
that overuse.
Overuse. And I knew people thinking they had to use all of these chemicals to clean their home to get rid of these bacteria or viruses.
What it does is when you use triclosan or other antibiotic-laden cleansers, is it actually causes the growth of much more resistant strains because it kills off the normal flora that you're already living with, and it's kind of friendly. It doesn't bother you. You don't bother it. It's just there. No big deal. But as soon as you clean it off, it opens up like a townhouse for much more aggressive bacteria and viruses and microbes to move into.
Absolutely.
So it's
water, soap, and water, in my opinion, is what you need to clean your hands with.
Right. And really in medicine, that's what they teach us as well. And, maybe using just plain alcohol. You don't need all the scents in it. So
right.
There's so many great tips that you have. And those are things that actually make life not more difficult and also less expensive. Because if you notice, you've actually spoken about a lot of things not to use, as well as a few things to use to clean things up further.
Correct. Yes. It's living a low tox life can be a lot less expensive. The amount of products that they make you think you have to have, right?
Right.
I mean, going down that cleaning aisle at a supermarket, you need a mask. You should have a mask on because you can smell them all outgassing. But they have something for everything that, and I see people with like 6, 7, 8 different cleaning products in there. And that's what marketing has done to us, that they think, making us believe we need all these things to clean our homes, and we really don't. And it can be just as simple as vinegar and water, just like I was taught growing up. I mean, we cleaned our toilets with baking soda.
Right. It works quite well.
It works very well.
I want to thank you so much for being our guest today, Therese Forton-Barnes, known as T. Detox Your Home and thegreenlivinggurus.com. Thank you so much for being our guest.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for having me on, Ellen.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email us at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamai, at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us again next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.